Town Board, you are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the February 17th regular meeting of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Councilwoman Burke Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Lee.
He was having trouble signing in. He was going to sign in
he's
from
joining
his
in
phone.
one more time.
There he is.
Councilman Lee.
Oh,
He's defying gravity.
He's got audio right now.
I'm trying. I can't get in on my my town computer.
Stay here.
Just say you're here for the record.
Here.
Councilwoman Overby.
I'm here.
Councilwoman Rogers.
Present.
Supervisor Van Scoyoc.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's meeting, we have 3 public hearings scheduled. That'll be followed by a public portion where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. But before we get started, we're very pleased to have with us our town crier, who I can just see the top of his hat, Hugh King. And we have the editor of the East Hampton Star,
hi.
David Rattray, with us. Welcome, David. Welcome, Hugh.
I'm having trouble hearing everybody. Is my volume off? Can you hear me?
You sound great.
Hear you fine. We can hear you.
I'm having trouble hearing you, however, but that's okay. Good morning. We can put off my questions to another time, and I have an announcement. But today we have with us, he should have the protocols, the one of the founders of the Plain Sight Project, David Rattray, who will have an address for the board, if we can find him.
He's here.
He's here.
Welcome, David. Welcome. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, this feels like a former life. I was once in television many, many years ago. But I'm really glad to be invited today, and I could go on for hours, but I won't. The Plain Sight Project is an endeavor to learn everything we can about East Hampton slavery. And we began in 2017 with knowing about 2 enslaved people in the town of East Hampton. Now we know about close to 300. We've expanded to Sag Harbor and on the North Fork. And we now know about, or know the names or have a sense of the identity of more than 700 people who were enslaved here on the east end of Long Island. And basically what we do, and with a lot of student help, is we look at old records in everything from church records to town trustee records to wills, tax rolls, censuses, and we have a project going now with Guildhall that will be launching soon, and the initial effort will be to begin to put brass markers in locations within the East Hampton Village Historic District, indicating where individual enslaved people lived. So it would be one marker for each person roughly in front of the house or an address that was associated with their lives. And one of the things that's really interesting to think about as a town is that slavery existed here and was legal for nearly 180 years. That is, if you look from the 1650s, when you have enslaved people both in Southampton and in East Hampton, all the way through to about 1830. That's the latest known enslaved person in East Hampton, a girl named Tamer. This is an extraordinary history, and we're learning more and more every day about it. And, I know Hugh likes to talk about specific dates. Well, today is the 17th, but the day after tomorrow, in 1657, an enslaved woman named Boos was at the bedside of Elizabeth Howell, who died, but in dying, accused Goody Garlic of witchcraft. And one piece of the Goody Garlic story that is becoming clearer is that an enslaved person was present at the bedside and appears to have corroborated testimony at the Inquisition, I guess, or trial of Goody Garlic. She was ultimately acquitted and returned to life here in East Hampton, and sort of went on with things. But if you think about it, we know about a free black man building a house right here by Town Pond in 1676, a man named John. Black Americans have been part of this country story and this town story since its very founding. And of course, there was enslavement of indigenous people as well. So we have a lot of exciting things coming up in the next year. We've got talks, but the most visible thing, I think, is going to be this collaboration with Guildhall for the plaques. And one last thing I should add, the East Hampton Library is opening an exhibit, I think, this weekend on slavery in East Hampton with actual examples of primary source documents that we've used. You can actually go and see the names of enslaved people in a shoe book that the Hedges family kept, for example. A man named Peter gets a set of shoes sold, and you can see to whom he was enslaved and to who was responsible for covering the cost of that shoe work at the Hedges property. But it's really been a labor of love. Forget about the newspaper business. All I want to do is this slavery stuff now. It's really, I never knew, and almost everyone that I speak to about this never knew. And we're trying to correct that record by just building a list of names and then figuring out what to do with it. And I think that's going to be really a community-wide effort, is to figure out, once we know this 300 or 400 or 500 individuals, where do we go from there? And I think that is the next step. But we don't, at the Plainsight Project, we don't pretend to know the answer. We want to be able to provide the information that groups can use to bring it into the schools, or have a day of remembrance, or do something on Juneteenth or whatever. But we're willing to work with anybody to give them this information. The other important thing is we always need volunteers. There are more records than we can possibly cover, and more being digitized every day, so people can work from the comfort of their own home, for example, and advance the project. And that's something we really would welcome. And anyone who's interested could get in touch with me via the Star. We have a website, plainsightproject.org, that has information as well. And I just really thank you for the opportunity to talk about this history a little bit. It's something that I think everyone should know. And as Americans, I think we overlook the presence of Black Americans and enslaved people in general in building these communities. It wasn't just the wealthy here. It really, almost anybody who's a significant landowner, my ancestors included, Hugh's ancestors, and so on, were enslavers. And we have the data to prove it. So that's really, in a nutshell, what we're up to.
Yeah, David, I want to commend you and others who've worked on this project. I think it's an amazing project, and it's called the Plainsight Project. But while it's only in plain sight if we look and acknowledge our history, and so thank you for pulling back our eyelids, if you will, and removing the veil, brushing off the dust that's covered the past. And, I think it's very appropriate that we acknowledge the contributions of everyone who's lived within the community. And, to the extent that we can do that at every possible occasion, it's important. It makes our community whole. It makes our community more inclusive. We're in the process now of planning for a Juneteenth celebration with the descendants of Lee Hayes, who was a Tuskegee Airman, as you well know. And we're going to be having a more formal dedication of that Amagansett Youth Park to Lee Hayes for Juneteenth, for that celebration. And we're going to have a kiosk as well on site. And it would be great to be able to link via QR code to the Plainsight Project. We're planning on having links to the history of Freetown, the Hayes family, and indigenous peoples throughout the town, so that we're trying to restore that history and make it known.
I just want to add one thing, Peter, that occurred to me is 2027 will be the 200th anniversary of the end of slavery in New York State. And a lot of organizations like ours are beginning planning going toward that. And, that seems like a ways away, but it comes up very fast. But we're beginning to think that if there's some sort of substantial recognition of enslaved people, within East Hampton town or somewhere on the East End, that would be the target date to kind of get our ducks in a row. It's going to be a very, very big deal statewide. And probably 9 out of 10 school children, maybe 10 out of 10 school kids could not tell you the significance of that date. And this is an opportunity for us to educate and to understand that we're all Americans, regardless of where we came from, and Black Americans were here, frankly, before almost everybody else, with a kind of limited exception. The great waves of migration that have populated this country came way later, and we have the data to prove it.
Yeah, thanks, David. And then there's another important date coming up, and that's 2024, which will be the 100th anniversary of when indigenous people in the United States were allowed to become citizens of this country. So, that's, when you start thinking about these things, it's really astounding that it took until 1924 for those who had always been here to be considered citizens of the place in which they lived. And so, these are sort of sad commentaries on where we were. But the fact that we're acknowledging them and moving beyond that is really, I think, what our country is in its heart and soul, in our Constitution, and the way our democracy was formed. And every step we take puts us a step closer to achieving those ideals and those goals. So again, we appreciate you being with us today and bringing this information to us and to the public, and keep up the good work.
Yeah, I want
Thank you very much.
I want to thank David, personally, because you came early on in your project. You came to the Anti-Bias Task Force. I'm sure there's so much more information that you could tell us now. And hopefully we will have you back and have a wider audience for you to talk to, because I think this is an important issue that people need to learn about. And thank you for doing that. Thank you to Donna Marie.
Yes, Donna Marie Barnes. Yes.
Oh my gosh, she's just done. And if anyone has time and should make time to go to Sylvester Manor to see the work that she's doing there, and working with you, David, is just, it's just wonderful. Such bright, capable people helping us understand our past so that we can honor these folks the way they need to be honored.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you, David. Could you just say the name of the website again? It went by fast.
Right. It's plainsightproject.org. We are one of several groups here that deal with African American history. The Southampton African American Museum has a new exhibit, I think, premiering on Saturday. And Sylvester Manor on Shelter Island, where Donna Marie Barnes works. She's an East Hampton town resident in Sag Harbor, on the Sag Harbor, East Hampton side of Sag Harbor. Sylvester Manor just also launched a digital exhibit about slavery and the history of slavery on Shelter Island, which is very much intertwined with North Haven and Gardner's Island here in East Hampton town. And for those of you who can go to the Sylvester Manor website and have a look at that, it's really an exemplary way to get up to speed on the issues of slavery and people of color on Eastern Long Island. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of work.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Hugh.
Thanks, guys.
So we'll have questions next time, Hugh?
Yes, I just want to have one announcement before I leave. Okay?
Yeah.
The Amagansett AVIS, it's celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. And they had a contest, a February Valentine's contest, where people wrote what they liked most about Amagansett.
Yep.
And they picked 6 winners. So I'm going to get a copy of those, and I'll give one to each board member, so at a future meeting, each board member will read one of the winning entries.
Great.
Okay?
Great. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Again, thanks so much, both of you, for being with us
Thank you,
today.
David. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Take care.
All right.
So we'll move on now to public hearings. We have 3. The first one is Meyer, which is a CPF acquisition. Carol, would you please read the hearing notice and the COVID disclaimer?
Please note that due to the public health and safety concerns related to COVID-19, the town board is not expected to meet in person at the time of the hearing. Pursuant to New York State Law, Chapter 417 of the Laws of 2021, Part E, which authorizes, notwithstanding the provisions of Article 7 of the Public Offices Law to the contrary, political subdivisions to permit any public body to hold meetings remotely without public in-person access or by conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the opportunity to view and listen to the such proceedings, and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. This public hearing of the town board will be held via video conferencing with a transcript provided at a later date pursuant to such authority. The public can watch and participate in the public hearings live on local TV channel 22 or live from the public meetings link on the LTV website. Members of the public may provide comments on the matter being heard by calling the number available on the live stream. Comments may also be submitted and will be continued to be accepted in writing by the town clerk by email to cbrennan@ehamptonny.gov or by mail to the town clerk, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, New York. Comments must be received within 1 week of the posting of the public hearing transcript. Transcript of the public hearing held by video conferencing will be prepared and filed with the town clerk and placed on the town's website. Please check the meeting agenda posted on the town's website for any changes to the instructions to access the public hearing and for updated information. Take notice that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law and Section 64E8 of the Town Law of the State of New York on February 17th at 11 a.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider the following. The town, in partnership with the Peconic Land Trust, will each acquire a 50% interest as tenants in common for open space purposes of vacant property located at 18 Jones Creek Lane, East Hampton Village, reputedly owned by Anna Meyer and consisting of approximately 2.7 acres of land at a cost to the town of East Hampton not to exceed $4,250,000 plus 50% of associated costs, survey, title, prorated tax, and recording charges from the Community Preservation Fund, said property being described on the Suffolk County tax map as 301-1243.
Thank you, Carol. We have Scott Wilson with us here to introduce this property.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So you can see that the property that we're talking about is actually outlined in blue on the screen right there. And you can see it's directly contiguous to green space owned by the Nature Conservancy. You can also see that it's waterfront property located on a northeastern creek leading into Georgia Pond. The property is currently in a natural state, sloping from a high of 20 feet at the eastern edge, sloping right down to the creek. Property contains wetlands that are significant for coastal wetland habitat, flood control, and the protection of surface water quality. While all of Georgia Pond has some limited tidal flushing, these creeks in particular are the most vulnerable to accumulations of pollutants, which impair the surface water quality. The parcel is within the coastal fish and wildlife habitat and part of a scenic area of statewide significance. It is recommended on the Critical Lands Protection Strategy and is in the Water Protection District. Preserving this wooded parcel and the prevention of clearing and septic will help limit the flow of chemical and natural contaminants into a compromised Georgia Pond. The primary purpose under consideration for this property is the preservation of open space and water quality as a 50-50 acquisition in partnership with Peconic Land Trust. And I believe we actually have a representative of the village and a representative of Peconic Land Trust on the line who I believe are going to speak in support of preservation of this property.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I do see a Peconic Land Trust over here. Would you like me to unmute?
Yes, please.
All right. Hello, caller ending 3195. Hello.
Good morning. This is Kim Cordy with Peconic Land Trust. Thank you for having me. I just want to speak to public hearing number 1 and say that we're really excited to be partnering with the town again. I think a lot of you are aware of the fact that we have been focusing a lot of efforts in and around Georgia Pond for the past couple of years, beginning with the acquisition of the old Imolino property, which was at the headwaters of the pond here. We have acquired that and demolished it and had been restoring it to its natural state in an effort to help contribute to the quality of Georgia Pond. We were able to do this with a very generous donation from a resident on the pond who actually, her efforts have kind of spurred more interest from the community and from other residences who we have now since received another grant, and it's a matching grant from an anonymous donor who has pledged to give us millions of dollars over the next couple of years to acquire some properties in and along Georgia Pond in an effort to help improve the water quality. So this is one of the parcels that became available and is, something that we have targeted as a high impact to the water quality here. And I'll echo Scott's comments on the conservation criteria, but this is an acquisition that we can acquire now, and a 50% partnership with the town. Like I said, this grant that we received requires matching funds. And, some people could look at this as, well, it's just one little parcel, but every parcel counts. The pond is so polluted right now with high nitrogen levels that we really need to reduce nitrogen input by at least 60% to get it to a quality that's considered stable. So even though a new building or renovation would require the new IAA systems, it's still going to be contributing something. So if we can acquire and protect this property, it would be another significant impact on the health and integrity of Georgia Pond. So I really appreciate your support. We look forward to another partnership where everyone's dollars can go farther, and we look forward to doing more acquisitions and work with the town of East Hampton. So thank you.
Thank you for calling. We appreciate your comments and your efforts to help preserve the East End. Jason, can we go to see if there are any other callers on the line for this public hearing?
Absolutely. I currently have 6 callers on the line, so I'll unmute and work down, and we'll find out exactly which goes to which.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, caller ending 3158. Are you here to talk about the Mirror CPF acquisition? Hello, caller ending 3158. Okay, moving on to next caller. Hello, caller ending 9034. You were on the air.
Hello, this is Sarah Davison calling.
Hi, are you calling? Are you calling about this current public hearing?
Yes.
All right, fantastic.
Hi, Sarah. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. I'm calling on behalf of the Friends of Georgia Pond Foundation and wanted to let you know that we endorse and wholeheartedly support this acquisition. There's a number of reasons why it's very important. One is, of course, it's a great partnership, a continuing tradition of partnership. We've been working, I've been working in protecting land in East Hampton since 1987. And the most effective way to spread our public dollars in the town is to partner. And we've had partnerships over the years with the federal government, the state, the county, and private trusts, such as the Peconic Land Trust. And I want to applaud the Peconic Land Trust for helping to make this happen. So partnerships are very important, and they extend the town funds for more preservation. This is also a very important parcel because it's contiguous to the Fulling Mill Farm Preserve, a 17-acre Nature Conservancy preserve. This builds on the ecological health of the area by allowing migration, and of course with sea level rise, inland migration of shoreline. Will allow this and connects the upland to the pond. And even if those two things weren't true, this would be a worthwhile acquisition based on its own merit, 2.7 acres of shoreline, very intact. There's no Phragmites. It's intact, beautiful oak forest. And I want to thank and applaud you for pursuing this acquisition. Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Sarah. We appreciate your work on protecting the pond.
Okay, moving on to next caller. Hello, caller ending 7567. You're on the air. Do you want to talk about this public hearing?
No, thanks. I'm calling for the public portion.
Public portion. Thank you. I'll note that.
Thanks, Jason.
Moving on to next caller. Let's see. They already talked. They're up. Okay. Hello, caller 8764. You're on the air. Do you want to talk about this public hearing?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much for the opportunity. This is David Buda. Good morning to all.
Hey, David, 2 seconds. Are you going to talk about the other public hearings too?
No.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Good morning,
Hello,
David.
everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. I am personally very appreciative of many people's hard-working efforts to improve water quality in Georgia Pond and in the creeks and coves that feed into it. I am also personally very supportive of the town using its community preservation largesse to acquire appropriate properties to preserve open space. And yet, I have three concerns about the proposed town CPF purchase of a 50% interest of this $8.5 million, 2.7-acre parcel located on Jones Creek or Cove. Number one, the town, now this is a little unusual and different than many of our prior matters that I've been involved in because it's not just the town, but the village and Peconic Land Trust involved, so there's multiple parties are involved, but yet the town board and its officials who are responsible for compliance with the town's expenditure of CPF funds are the ones that I am addressing in my comments today. You are all responsible for complying with the requirements of the New York State Open Public Meeting Law and the Freedom of Information Law. However, the town officials responsible for those compliance with those laws continue to blatantly disregard their legal obligation to provide in advance of the public hearing meaningful documentary information that has been requested by a member of the public, me, in an effort to become fully informed about a significant proposed expenditure of public funds. Without access in advance to the public hearing to the items I have requested, which are merely the town and or village planning department's evaluation reports, the CPF project board's written recommendation and scoring for this proposed acquisition, a property survey, and the executed conditional contract of sale that is to be assignable to the town, the public hearing process is relegated to being little more than a dog and pony show with little critical analysis and scrutiny. Concern number two is that this acquisition, I believe, cannot lawfully proceed without first making an amendment and modification to the current CPF project plan, which was adopted in September 2021. The state law that created the Peconic Bay Region CPF programs required the adoption of a community preservation project plan. The plan shall list each project which the town plans to undertake pursuant to the CPF funds objectives. It shall include every parcel which is necessary to be acquired in order to protect community character. Such plan shall provide for a detailed evaluation of all available land use alternatives, and such as fee simple acquisition and scenic and conservation easements and other possibilities. The evaluation shall be as specific as practicable as to each parcel selected for inclusion in the plan. This particular project at the present time is specifically identified in the town's adopted CPF program as being recommended for preserving open space, but not by fee title acquisition. Rather, the town's CPF project plan, by incorporating the village open space plan, only recommends acquisition of a wetland easement. Frankly, a wetland easement on the western part of this property is what the town really should be interested in. And in fact, I note that when the Myers posted a sales solicitation for this property, they had intended to preserve the western side, probably because the village has laws similar to the town that requires there be no removal of forestation along the waterland because of the wetlands. Third, my third concern is public access. The sine qua non, or the legal necessity for all public acquisitions using CPF funds for open space purposes is that public access be provided. This property is buried in the Georgia area off of a road that's called Jones Creek Lane, a road that I couldn't even find when I went to look for it. And I really wonder whether or not there will be any meaningful public access to this property, which I think is essential if it's to be acquired by the public, as opposed to merely acquiring a wetlands easement as was envisioned by the project plan. I noticed that the representative from the PLT said that an anonymous donor or donors has pledged millions of dollars for this and other related projects. I just have to wonder whether this project is being motivated really by some of the neighbors. You have a very well-known couple from the entertainment world to the south. You have a very well-known land use attorney immediately to the north. And I would hate to see that this $8.5 million, half of which would come from public funds that the town's responsible for, be essentially become another means of the very rich and very powerful and very fortunate people simply managing to preserve their little neck of the woods, and for their own sake, more so than for public benefit that's necessary. So those are my comments. I wish that someone would address them. Thank you.
Thank you for calling, David.
Moving
Do we have
on
any other?
All right, moving on to the next caller. Hello, caller ending 4221. You're on the air. Hello.
Thank you. Good morning. It's Jane Meering in Amagansett. Good council people. I hope you're well and enjoying today's little winter reprieve. The last couple times I offered public comments to you regarding proposed CPF acquisitions at Green Hollow and the Muchmores. I know I sounded a bit Debbie Downer because I raised a bunch or a series of rather specific transaction-related concerns about valuation methodology, lack of transparency, usage issues, and a deep skew in favor of private, individual versus public benefits. Today, however, my comments are not that. I am indeed enthusiastic about this CPF purchase of the 2.7 acres proposed on Jones Creek Lane. I love the misstatement that Mr. Buda just made. I wish it was James Creek Lane. I think that this parcel was indeed already prioritized, if not for full-out purchase, but at least within the sightlines of CPF. I also understand that the important group, my friends at Friends of Georgia Pond, have advocated for this particular conservation acquisition for some time, and they and I see it as an important accomplishment. This is an example of a very legitimate and productive public-private partnership as envisioned in the CPF plan to get this done. Though the town's contribution at 50% certainly lessens the blow, the full near $8.5 million price tag is big on an absolute basis, as our Hampton's real estate market remains overinflated, especially by blistering levels of spec development. However, much as the enthusiasm I felt about of the recent purchase of the wooded parcel that CPF announced for acquisition at the top of East Lake Drive, I do think it is important to put the CPF stake in the ground or line in the sand and say loudly, not one more, that the town does not want to see even 1 or 2 more acres of woodlands or dunelands or wetlands along our shorelines clear-cut or excavated to make way for another oversized compound. So related to that, I just want to emphasize one point. Extreme levels of development continue apace in East Hampton town and the village. And we have one great parcel saved here, but I have to ask, what about other parcels and acres going forward? Looking just at the area around Georgia Pond, even with the environmental imperatives across East Hampton, we know about the extraordinarily degraded state of the waters of our beautiful Georgia Pond. And still, parcel after parcel are developed and redeveloped with extraordinary large compounds, significant clearing, landscaping that brings significant irrigation and chemicals runoff. I just wanted to give the town a couple current facts. I took a look back at the real estate listings over the last 2 years, looking just at this relatively small area around the perimeter of Georgia Pond. I saw at minimum 21 properties that were sold that were newly constructed on undeveloped land with houses ranging from 6 to 10,000 square feet, or vacant land to be developed with extraordinary size, or currently developed properties to be redeveloped with much larger homes. Currently, I see another 10 properties that fit those criteria active right now to be sold. I also would note that this past summer, the village pushed through a series, without much vetting, of zoning code changes that will allow for significant below-ground expansion and a lot of GFA expansion. We just heard the Peconic Land Trust reminding us that nitrogen needs to be reduced by 60%. Recently, environmental expert Dr. Gobler presented to the village about water quality in Georgia Pond, and he said that occupancy is the main driver of toxicity and water quality degradation, and number of houses as well as house size is a main driver of occupancy. Bottom line, my point here is that those CPF and preservation purchases are wonderful and extremely important. We are not going to be able to preserve our way out of this. The CPF acquisition today inspires me to state my hope that a preservation thread can be woven through the fabric of our land use regulations and zoning code, especially when it comes to protecting our shorelines, protecting our woodlands, and reversing the degradation of our water quality. Just very quickly, Mr. Buddha said this, I actually had this also. I am interested to hear about if this open space will be able to afford some public access to enjoy this reserve in combination with the beautiful Fulling Mill Ag Preserve it abuts. As you know, much of Georgia Pond shoreline is completely off limits to the public because of exclusive shoreline development, and on the western side, much is within the protection of the Georgia Association. I do think it is important that some sort of access to allow gentle and passive enjoyment of this beautiful area would be wonderful for residents of the town and the village, and hopefully it becomes stated as a part of the land trust and CPF plan. Thank you so much.
Thanks for calling, Jane. Do we have any other callers for this public hearing?
I'm just going to go circle back to one of the callers who did not answer. Aside from that, everyone else has spoken. Hello, okay. Caller ending 3158. You're on the air. Hello.
Hi
Hello.
there. My name is Laura, and I live in New York City, and I was just calling to listen in and comment on the closure of the airport.
Oh, understood. I'll put you down for public comment then.
Great. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that said, we have two people who are waiting for the public portion of public comment. Aside from that, all other speakers have spoken.
Motion to close.
All in favor? Do we have a second? We have a second. I'm sorry.
Okay. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Carol, if you'd please go to the next hearing notice.
Pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law and Chapter 16 of the Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on Thursday, February 17th at 11 a.m. or soon thereafter, as the same may be heard to hear comments of all persons wishing to be heard concerning the following grant of scenic and conservation easement to the Town of East Hampton. The grantor is Patricia McCarthy, 2017 Irrevocable Trust. William Warren is trustee. It's a scenic and conservation easement dated November 23rd, 2021. The location is 21 Ruder Place in Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 331-324, and the reviewing agency is the ZBA.
Thank you, Carol. Jason, do we have any new callers on the line?
Yes, we do. We have one new caller on the line. I am unmuting right now. Hello, caller ending 891.
Favor?
Second.
Aye.
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 Passed and carried. Carol, if you'd read the third hearing notice for today, please.
Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on Thursday, February 17th at 11 a.m. or soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard, to consider any and all comments in relationship to the dissolution of the East Hampton Wastewater Disposal District and the use of the remaining funds, $1,739,023.99 as of December 31st, 2021, of the district to pay the cost of certain capital projects for the town pursuant to Chapter 257 of the laws of New York.
Thank you very much. And do we have any callers on the line for this public hearing?
Not that I see. We just had that one person who I tried to unmute earlier. I'm just going to give them one more shot and just try to. Hello, caller, 8912. Still nothing. Aside from that, no new callers.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. So that concludes our public hearings for today. We'll now go on to the public portion where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. We ask that you mute your devices that you may be listening in on so that we don't get feedback, and that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Jason, if you'd please go to the call line.
Absolutely. Starting with first caller. Hello, caller ending 7567. You still there?
I am here, yes, thanks.
All right, you are on the air.
Hi, good morning, top board members. It's Joe Sigilia from Springs. I'm calling because I emailed you all this morning about a troubling development that you may be aware of. It appears that a helipad at the Bistrian Sand Pit, approximately only 200 feet off of Springs Fireplace Road, near the intersection of Queens Lane, has recently been expanded, repaved, and repainted. I included a few photos in the email that were posted on a social media website. As anyone who's driven down Fireplace Road is aware, the sand pit already creates a number of nuisances, including traffic congestion and noise, and creates dust in the whole area. You can imagine how that dust would be spread even further with helicopters landing and taking off, causing problems for anyone with respiratory issues who lives or works nearby. Amagansett residents appreciated the town's effort to deal with dust in their community, and Springs residents deserve the same attention to our concerns. In addition, using a sand pit as a heliport raises the additional potential for groundwater contamination. Springs residents have a number of questions we would like answered. First, regarding the expansion of the helipad, was the construction properly permitted? Does it comply with all of the town's zoning rules? Was a secret environmental impact statement prepared, and if not, why not? In addition, putting aside the fact of whether or not the construction complied with all applicable laws, any use of the helipad would appear to violate Chapter 73 of the Town Code, which prohibits helicopters from taking off and landing anywhere in the town other than the town airport and the Montauk Airport, except in the case of emergencies. Violations of that code section are punishable by a fine of up to $5,000 and imprisonment for up to 14 days for a first offense, and a fine of up to $10,000 and imprisonment for up to 30 days for each subsequent offense. Presumably this applies to helicopter owners, operators like Blade, helicopter pilots, as well as the owner of the helipad. How does the town intend to enforce this code section if the helipad is ever used? As a side note, I would say if I was a helicopter owner or an operator or a pilot, or certainly the owner of the helipad, I would be seeking legal advice from a criminal defense attorney before I use it. Use of the helipad will also likely violate the town's noise pollution rules. If the helipad is permitted to be used, how does the town intend to control noise? Has the town considered using its eminent domain powers as a way to prevent helicopters from landing and taking off near a residential neighborhood? Has the board consulted with the town attorney and/or outside legal counsel about its obligations to enforce this code provision? As we all know, the pro-airport and aviation interest groups, including out-of-town corporations, billionaires, lawyers, and lobbyists, have spread a lot of information about the town's airport plans. To be clear, the possibility of using the sand pit as a helipad is being promoted on social media by aviation and airport special interest groups. and there's the possibility that it's simply a ruse or a scare tactic to discourage any changes that you're considering to the existing airport. Those groups have shown their propensity of fear-mongering and divisiveness in the past. My personal view is that no one in East Hampton should have to deal with commercial helicopter traffic, and the town should, and has the legal authority to, ban all helicopters except for emergencies. And finally, as you're aware, Spring residents are a well-organized community, and we are all strongly opposed to a helipad operating at this location. We would like the opportunity to hear from our 3 board members who are Spring residents, Councilwoman Burke-Gonzalez, Councilwoman Rogers, and Councilman Lease, at this time, about how they intend to address the issues. Kathy, if you can go first, followed by Kate and David. All of your neighbors who are listening in would like to know your thoughts on this issue. Thanks in advance.
Thank you, Joe. And I'll just remind you, this is public comment. This isn't a discussion session with the town board. This is our opportunity to hear your concerns. We have become aware of the improvements made at the Bistry and Sand Pit, and we are looking into that. I don't believe that there are any permits or site plan review that has been applied for or has taken place, and so we will continue to press forward in investigating that situation. I can assure you of that.
Thanks, Peter. If there's time, I realize this is a board meeting on a work session, and we can call in and discuss this again at the next work session. If there's time for Kate or Kathy or David to give us their thoughts, that would be helpful. And also, if you're aware that this appears to violate not the building of the construction or the construction of the helipad, but using it appears pretty clearly to violate the town code. And if you've all thought about that, how that would be enforced. Thanks again.
Yeah, Joe, I would encourage you to reach out directly to council persons, anybody you wish to speak to and have a conversation. Again, the public comment section of the meeting is really not for dialogue purposes as much as it is to hear from the public as to what your concerns are. You can follow up. Please feel free to do that with my office, myself, or any of the other council people.
All right. Thanks, Peter. That's great. I emailed you all, so if whoever is concerned about this issue can email back, that would be fantastic. And I'll call in for the next work session. Hope you all have a good day. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Joe. Appreciate your comments and concerns.
Okay, unmuting next caller. Hello, caller ending 3158. You are on the air.
Hi, good morning. So my name is Laura, and I live in New York City. And I just want to say I thank you for your efforts to privatize the airport. The volume of traffic, noise, and the environmental impact, as well as safety concerns, with non-essential helicopters flying from New York City all the way to Long Island. It extends across so many communities and impacts so many people. They're flying over New York City and my neighborhood in Brooklyn every 15 minutes, often at 150, 300 feet. And my neighborhood, our park, Central Park, Brooklyn Botanical Garden, it sounds like a war zone. And these operators, including Blade and private charters, operate with no neighborly principles, as I'm sure a lot of you know, and have really left the airport with no other choice. So I want to say that I support it, and the airport can no longer continue to enable this excessive noise, contribute to the climate crisis and all of the safety issues that they pose, just to serve the 1% to the detriment of everyone in New York.
Laura, could we have your last name for the record?
Sure, it's O'Brien.
Thank you. We appreciate you calling in.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, unmuting next caller. Hello, caller ending 2866. You are on the air.
Thanks, Jason. This is Jackie Esposito, also calling from Springs. I called the other day about the helicopters that were hovering over the Springs area, as well as another aircraft. I'm not quite sure what it was. I understand, I believe it's the owner of Sound Aviation, possibly, if my understanding is correct, called in to say that those were not helicopters coming from the East Hampton airport. I haven't verified that, but certainly am concerned that there are possibilities that the Bistrian sand pit, that heliport is now being used for commercial traffic. I've read the code myself. It seems to be a clear violation and that it does carry civil and criminal penalties. So my hope is that our board is investigating this. I mean, residents can't have fences that are too tall. So we certainly, if residents have to abide by the code, certainly our commercial, commercial owners have to abide by the code. And I just want to say to all of the Springs residents who may be listening, we are going to have to unite because there is no way that helicopters will be landing on Springs Fireplace Road. And I think this is further evidence that helicopters, unless for emergency use, have no business landing in Montauk, East Hampton, or Springs. You all have been elected to preserve our community and take care of residents, and we need your help. We have to end these helicopters. We have to end the private jets. Let the small pilots continue to use the East Hampton Airport, impose curfews on them so that they are not waking us up in the morning. But we have got to end the helicopters, and we have got to end the private jets. It's completely out of control. You will have the backing of the community. We will make sure of that. And in the meantime, as you are grappling with this issue of the East Hampton Airport, please investigate what is going on at the Bistrians. I understand you can't answer questions now, but I suspect that additional residents will be contacting you, and we will need an opportunity to have this conversation and to hear from our elected officials on where you stand about the Bistrians.
Thanks for calling in, Jackie. We appreciate the comments. And as I said before, we are looking into this issue.
And
okay, thank you. That's appreciated. And hopefully we'll hear back soon.
And with that said, I'm just going to try an unresponsive caller for one very last time. Hello, caller, ending in 8912. Are you there? And hello? Still nothing. Okay, with that said, there are no new callers as we currently stand right now.
Thank you, Jason. We will now move on from the public portion to resolutions. We have resolutions to offer. Kathy, I believe you're the first.
I do. Resolution 2022-272. It's approval of the warrant. Claims for 2021 total $482,301.31. And for 2022, they total $8,134,605.20. The utility warrant for 2021 totals $8,197.10. And for 2022, the utility warrant totals $55,379.51.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-273 is a notice of public hearing to amend Chapter 151 of the special event permits. We discussed this at the last few town board work sessions. The hearing is set for Thursday, March 3rd at 2 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-274 is to notice a public hearing to amend Chapter 240 of Vehicles and Traffic. This is the 2-hour parking on North Main Street from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's from the southwest corner of Indian Hill Road to the northwest corner of Miller Terrace. That public hearing will also be held on Thursday, March 3rd at 2 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Thank you, Kathy.
I'd like to offer Resolution 2022-275. This is a notice of public hearing for the improvement of part of Fort Pond Road and Tut Hill Road in Montauk, where the town received a petition for the unit owners of Rough Riders condominiums seeking to improve the road, which consists of a portion of the roads mentioned. The improvements intend to install drainage, paving, and appropriate shoulder areas and other necessary work to bring this portion of the road into the town's highway department. The proposed amount will be approximately $285,000 for this district. We will be having this public hearing on March 17th, 2022 at 11 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
2022-276 is the 2022 the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan. This is the schedule of a public hearing. The public hearing for this will be scheduled for March 3rd, 2022 at 2 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
2022-277 is the point part-time automotive equipment operator Charles Dayton in the Highway Department at an hourly rate of $22.61, retroactive to February 14th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
This is going to be my most optimistic one of the day for good weather. 2022-278 is the point lifeguards to preseason training for 2022, effective March 1st, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. There's always a polar plunge.
Yeah. Resolution 279 is to appoint temporary Fleet Service Manager John Lester, where he retired his full-time position but is needed for a temporary part-time training basis. He'll be hired at an hourly rate of $32.01, effective retroactively February 13th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer Resolution 280, promotion of custodial worker 2, Jeanette Leal, where she is a full-time custodial worker 1 in the Parks Department with the Civil Service, as I reclassified her position to custodial worker 2. She now meets those minimum qualifications. She'll be paid an hourly rate of $26.38, $54,874.77 annually for a 40-hour work week, retroactive to February 13th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
281 is to promote to custodial worker 2, Derek Miller, where he is also a custodial worker 1 in the Parks Department. His position has now been posted, and he meets the minimum criteria for custodial worker 2 at an hourly rate of $25.73, $53,527.76 annually. This will be retroactive to February 13th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
2022-282 is accept the proposal for RFP EH 2021-109. This is for professional engineering services for the Georgia Pond at Route 27 Rest Stop Stormwater Abatement Technical Design Proposal. We solicited bids, and the contractor to be recommended now is DNB Engineers and Architects PC at the amount that was proposed of $119,700.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
283 is a demolition bid for EH 22008. The bid is available February 17, 2022, and due back March 10th, 2022. There will be a pre-bid meeting on February 28, 2022 at 11 a.m. Please contact our purchasing agent at the town of East Hampton at 631-324-4183 for further information.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
284 is a notice of bidders for EH 22009. This is for mobile food concessions for select beaches for 2022. The bid is available February 17th, 2022, and the bid is due back March 10th, 2022. Please contact also our senior purchasing agent at 631-324-4141 for any further information.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
285 is a Downs property demolition bid, EH 22-010. The bid is available February 24th, 2022, and the bid is due back March 24th, 2022. There will be a pre-bid meeting on the property on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 at 11 a.m. For further information, please contact our purchasing department at 631-324-4183.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
286 is the amendment resolution 2022-217, where in that resolution, Steve Lynch Jr. and Stevenson Sace were appointed to the title of automotive equipment driver, snow season only, with the town of East Hampton's Highway Department. Therefore, we would like to put Stephen Lynch Jr. and Steven Sace that they're hereby appointed to the correct title of laborer with no change in the hourly rate or budget account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
287 is acceptance of a donation for the Laura Simonson Skate Park. This is acceptance of a $1,000 donation from Nancy and Todd Pietri.
Second. And thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
288 is amending section 240-58. This is for the Schedule 8 of the stop sign intersections, the Town Code of East Hampton. We had a public hearing on these locations on December 16th of 2021 to amend the code for locations at various locations for stop signs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-289. This is a budget modification for buildings and grounds in the amount of $800 from full-time salaries to light and power.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
2022-290. This is to retain con and con attorneys for in the matter of Beach Plum Park. This is to prosecute a quiet title and declaratory judgment action under applicable New York State statutory and case law against Beach Plum Partners to make sure to remain the title to the Town of East Hampton consistent with the conditions in the 1993 subdivision. And the fee schedule is as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
291 is a budget modification for the town attorney for 2022. This is, we went into contract for affordable housing purposes at McElhenney Street, which is identified as tax map 300-144-3-1. And we're directing the budget officer to make a budget modification from municipal purchase in the amount of $46,000 to increase that line from contingencies to the amount of $46,000 for this affordable housing purpose.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
292 is the 2022 budget modification for snow removal. And this is because of the large storms we recently had. We're taking the amount of $160,000 from road resurfacing and bringing it to the snow removal contractor line in the same amount of $160,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Thanks, David.
Resolution 2022-293 is an easement. It's to accept the road widening easement in urban renewal parcel 20 in section EH7. This is for New Sunshine Custom Builders, and the location is Wooded Oak Lane in East Hampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-294 is to accept security and undertaking for urban renewal parcel 14A in EH3. And the applicant is Bruce Van Gerp, and the amount of the check is $22,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2022-295 is a budget modification for housing in 2022. And this is moving for rental property in the amount of $10,000 to repairs in general for $10,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
I have 2022-296, which is to appoint the legislative secretary, Dolores Perez. And Dolores Perez is hereby appointed to the position of legislative secretary to town board members Sylvia Ogilvie and myself at the annual salary of $54,000 for a 35-hour work week to be paid biannually upon proper submission of time records effective February 28th, 2022.
It's bi-weekly, not biannual.
Bi-weekly, sorry.
That's okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Thank you, Kate. Resolution 2022-297 is notice of public hearing for local law to amend Chapter 37, Department Heads Bonus Compensation. And this is to include in the eligible category principal accountant title And we'll have that hearing on March 3rd at 2 p.m. or as soon thereafter. It's the board may hear.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry. My second. Yeah, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass carried. 298 is completion of probationary period for Michelle Miller. Police Officer Michelle Miller has completed 18 months of evaluation, training, and probation, and is hereby permanently appointed to the position of police officer, effective retroactive January 16th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Michelle Miller. Passed and carried. 299 is to adopt secret positive declaration to prepare a draft environmental impact statement for consideration of long-term operational changes at the new airport in East Hampton. I'm just going to read the resolves. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Town of East Hampton, after careful review and consideration, hereby adopts the attached secret positive declaration, Appendix B, in relation to the preparation to a draft generic environmental impact statement to consider the long-term operation of the new airport. Be it resolved further, the Town Board of East Hampton hereby issues the attached draft scoping outline, Appendix C, and it's also available at the website, on the town website, to receive public comments thereon, and hereby schedules a virtual public meeting to be held on March 1st, 2022, and a written public comment period for receipt of public comments, which will extend from 4 p.m. Will extend to 4 p.m. on March 18th, 2021. Public comments may be submitted in writing to the East Hampton Town Clerk, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, New York, 11937, or email to ehamptonscope@ehamptonny.gov. Be it further resolved that the town attorney and the town's airport consultants continue to assist the town clerk in drafting, publishing, and circulating required secret and other notices as applicable.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 300 is agreement with Vector Airport Systems Professional Services. This is for the amount of $14,333 per annum for landing fee billing and collection management services using aircraft identification hardware and software, plus a sum of 13% for landing fees collected. $69,636 per annum for Vector noise and operations monitoring system, and $15,000 per annum for flight tracking and equipment maintenance. There is an option for yearly renewals upon mutual agreement of the parties for 2 additional 1-year periods. Be it further resolved that the cost will be paid out of the airport budget line.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 301 is a resolution to renew HR CPI Benefits Advisors Affordable Care Act compliance. And that's effective March 1st, 2022 to 28th, 2023. March 1st, 23 through February 28th, 24, and effective March 1st, 2024 to February 28th, 2025, at cost not to exceed $18,000 plus $1,500 for the Form 1099 preparation per year. And it's at the total impact $19,500 per year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. We have one additional resolution, ID 27416. That's from Tang Cooley LLP, Whiteman, Osterman LLP, and Regano LLC, airport litigations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed and carried. At this point, we will be going into an executive session to discuss airport matters. Are there any other matters that we'll be discussing?
Not that I have.
I don't have
I'll
any.
entertain a motion, and after we come out of executive session, we will be returning to a public portion for a adoption of a further resolution.
I make a motion that we go into exec session for advice of counsel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried. We will now go into executive session and return to public session shortly.
Town Board, you are live.
Good afternoon, everyone. We've convened our executive session and are now back into public session. We have one additional resolution today. That is resolution ID 27417. This is to amend resolution 2022-190, airport closure date. And I'm going to read the full resolution. Whereas the resolution 2022-190, the town board authorized the closure of the East Hampton Airport and the opening of a new private use airport. And whereas the date of the closure of the airport was planned for February 28th, 2022, with the airport remaining closed March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 2022, collectively the original closure dates. And whereas the opening of the new private use airport was planned for March 4th, 2022, the original opening date. And whereas the town has remained engaged in discussions with the FAA with respect to the original closure dates, the original opening date, with the goal of opening a new private use airport with substantially all the services available to users that were available at the public use airport being available at the time of opening or shortly thereafter. And whereas at a meeting held February 16th of 2022, the town and the FAA discussed a new timeline which is acceptable to both parties for the closure of the public use airport and the opening of the private use airport, as well as phasing in the services desired by the town, including tower operations and instrument approach procedures for airport users. And whereas based on the discussions of the town with the FAA, the town believes that it is prudent and advisable to postpone the original closure date to 11:59 p.m. on May 17th of 2022, so that the town will be in a position to open the new private use airport after a shorter closure period immediately following the updated closure date. And whereas in view of the change of such dates, the town's environmental consultants should re-examine and reconsider their prior environmental assessment and recommendations for a secret determination of significance pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.7. Now therefore be it resolved that the original closure date is hereby postponed until 11:59 p.m. on May 17th of 2022, the new closure date. Be further resolved that the new private use airport shall open at 9 a.m. on May 19th of 2022, and be it further resolved that the town's environmental consultants shall evaluate the environmental effects of the new closure dates, as well as the impacts related to the phased introduction of services to the airport, and prepare as necessary a revised environmental assessment form for consideration by the town board at its next scheduled meeting, and make new recommendation to the town board for its secret determination of significance, including whether the January 20th, 2022 negative declaration should be amended and or rescinded and a new assessment adopted as the board deems appropriate. And it may be further resolved that the town shall notify the FAA of the closure date and take such further actions as necessary after consideration of the supplemental secret review and recommendation of its environmental consultants. And be it further resolved that resolution 2022-190, except as amended herein, is in all other respects affirmed. Do I have a second? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Are there any other resolutions to offer at this time, John?
No, I don't believe so. I thought we might have one more, but I don't see it. So.
Okay, in that case.
I think actually word came back. I had to come through Carol's office, so I don't know if Carol even heard about it yet because it just happened. So I guess we'll have to figure out how to deal with it. So.
Okay, a motion to close.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Stay safe and be well, everyone.
Bye.